She had just become a mother, and within 3 weeks she was gone. The baby's cries were the only sound left in the room. And what triggered this? A secret, one she was ready to tell that very morning. But before she could even speak, the silence spoke louder. Dallas, Texas, January 7, 2024. A baby girl was left motherless before she ever had a chance to say, Mama. 17-year-old Ikea Hood was full of life, a joyful teen, a dancer, a new mother learning what it meant to love and protect her little girl. But her story isn't just about dreams or new beginnings. It's about a truth that shattered everything she believed in, a secret she was ready to share that very morning. This wasn't a random act of violence. It came from someone who once claimed to love her. This case will break the illusion that youth, love, or hope can protect you from danger. And it will force us all to ask, how well do we really know the people closest to us? If stories like this shake you, you need to subscribe, because the next one could happen closer than you think. And if this doesn't move you, I truly wonder, what will? Ikea was a beacon of light at Lancaster High School, a proud member of the Tigerettes drill team. More than just a dancer, she was the spirit of her group, always smiling, full of energy, inspiring those around her. Friends remember her as vibrant, kind, and full of dreams, not only for herself but for her baby daughter, Aislinn. Becoming a mother at such a young age was tough, but she met it with courage and love. Her social media was a joyful diary of new motherhood, baby showers, dances, and laughter. But beneath it all, a painful truth waited to surface. She had just learned from a paternity test that the man she believed was the father of her child was not. That morning, she planned to share this truth. She was ready to be honest, but that honesty would cost her everything. The morning of January 7th, 2024, began like any other in the Hood household. But something felt off. Ikea wasn't answering her mother's calls. She hadn't come out of her room. And then the crying started, a soft, desperate sound, not from Ikea, but from Aislinn. Her mother knocked, then banged, then screamed her daughter's name. But there was no answer. The bedroom door was locked from the inside, a lock Ikea rarely used. Panic set in. Ikea's mother raced outside to the window. What she saw made her knees nearly buckle. The window was pushed open, the screen torn out and discarded nearby. Curtains fluttering in the breeze like something or someone had escaped through it. She climbed through the window, and there, on the bed, was her daughter, lying still, unmoving, shot, gone. And just a few feet away, her 3-week-old baby was wailing in her crib, confused, hungry, alone. It wasn't just the horror of finding her daughter dead that broke her. It was knowing she had been right there, just on the other side of the door, and didn't know. That her daughter died alone, that no one heard the gun go off. There were no signs of forced entry, no broken locks, no kicked-in door, only silence and escape. Whoever did this didn't fight to get in. They were let in, or maybe they had a key to her trust. And the window, that was the exit. But why the window? Why leave the door locked behind you? Was it panic? Guilt? Shame? Or was it cold calculation? A plan already made before the trigger was pulled? How do you shoot someone, then step past their baby and crawl out of a window like nothing happened? Who has that kind of heart? And more importantly, who was Ikea trying to protect, even in her final moments? The second Ikea's mother stepped through that window, her life changed forever. There, right on the bed, lay her baby girl, not breathing, not moving, a small red mark on her chest. Ikea Hood had been shot, and in the corner of the room, tiny Aislinn, only 3 weeks old, was crying, helpless and alone. Her mother screamed. She grabbed her phone, trembling hands trying to dial 911. Her voice cracked as she told the dispatcher, "My daughter's not breathing. My grandbaby is crying. Please come now." The police and paramedics rushed to the scene in southeast Dallas, but it was too late. Ikea was pronounced dead at the scene. She was only 17 years old. The home wasn't torn apart. There were no signs of a fight, no broken doors, no obvious struggle. But something stood out. The front door was locked. And the bedroom door was locked from the inside. Only the window was open and the screen was tossed outside. Whoever did this didn't come in through that window. That was how they left. Which means Ikea let them in. And then they shot her and left her baby crying in the next room. Her family, broken. Her mother, shocked. Neighbors, silent. And everyone was asking one question. Who could do this to Ikea? She was loved, she was young, she was a new mom, and someone knew she would be home that morning, with her baby and no one else around. Someone used that moment to take her life. But why? Was it jealousy? Was it personal? Was it someone she trusted? And what kind of person leaves a crying newborn behind like they mean nothing? Subscribe if you believe victims like Ikea deserve to be remembered. And if you don't, leave a comment and tell us why not. We'll wait. From the moment police arrived at the Hood family home, they sensed this wasn't a simple crime of opportunity. It was personal. The victim wasn't just anyone. She was a young mother, taken too soon, in what seemed like a moment fueled by deep emotions. Their focus quickly turned to Trevon Darnell Wright, a 17-year-old from Dallas, Texas, who attended Lancaster High School. He was in an on-and-off relationship with Ikea Hood for about 2 years. Their relationship had typical teenage ups and downs, but was marked by emotional tension and arguments. What made this case even more tragic was the reason behind the violence. A secret that Ikea was ready to reveal. A paternity test showed that Trevon was not the father of her baby. Imagine the weight of that revelation. For Trevon, learning he wasn't the father shattered more than just a relationship. It shattered his identity. At just 17, he faced what felt like rejection, betrayal, and loss all at once. Psychologists often talk about how teenage brains are still developing, particularly the areas that control impulse, emotional regulation, and understanding consequences. When young people face intense emotions like heartbreak or betrayal, their ability to manage those feelings can falter. Trevon's social media painted a picture of a troubled teen spiraling. He posted images with guns and messages filled with anger and despair. Was this a cry for help, or a warning sign ignored too long? The morning of the shooting, investigators believe Trevon either discovered the paternity test results or was confronted with the truth by Ikea. The resulting confrontation ended with Ikea's death. After the shooting, Trevon fled the scene. That choice speaks volumes, a sign that guilt, fear, or panic had overtaken him. He later claimed the shooting was an accident during a struggle and that he had intended to harm himself, not Ikea. But no physical evidence supported his version. The questions weigh heavily. Was this a crime of passion or a tragic accident? Did Trevon see Ikea's baby as a part of himself, and losing that connection pushed him to a breaking point? Was his violent action an expression of possession, jealousy, or fear of abandonment? How much of this was influenced by untreated mental health struggles? The trial began more than a year later, in January 2025. Family, friends, and the community packed the courtroom, searching for justice and answers. Trevon was charged with first-degree murder, the highest charge, meaning the killing was intentional and premeditated. The prosecution presented evidence showing that Trevon's actions were deliberate. The locked bedroom door, the open window exit, and his flight after the shooting. They pointed to his social media posts and prior juvenile arrest as evidence of a troubled history. The defense tried to argue the shooting was accidental, part of a struggle gone wrong, and that Trevon was suicidal. But the jury saw through this. They saw a young man who made a deadly choice, who didn't take responsibility until confronted with overwhelming proof. On January 17, 2025, Trevon Wright, then 18, was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. The verdict brought a mix of relief and sorrow. Relief that justice was served, sorrow that a young life ended in such violence, and lingering questions about how things could have been different. Investigators noted Wright's prior history of emotional instability, jealousy, and control, traits that, under psychological pressure, can lead to violent behavior when combined with feelings of betrayal. His mental health history, reported as including depression, anxiety, and attention disorder, did not persuade the jury that the act was accidental. Instead, prosecutors framed it as a premeditated act, born of emotional turmoil and rejection. Could intervention have prevented this? Could signs of emotional distress have been noticed and addressed sooner? How many young people are silently battling pain that explodes into tragedy? The news of Ikea Hood's death rippled through Lancaster and the surrounding communities like a shockwave. A young life, full of promise and hope, was stolen in a way that no one could easily understand. Her daughter, Icelyn, just 3 weeks old, would now grow up without the warmth, care, and love of her mother's embrace. That thought alone brought tears to many. At Lancaster High School, the Tigerettes drill team mourned the loss of their brightest star. In a heartfelt tribute, they released pink and white balloons into the sky, each one carrying a silent prayer and a message of love to their lost teammate. Ikea's family became advocates, her mother speaking publicly about the dangers of teen dating violence, hoping to protect other young girls from suffering the same fate. Schools and community groups organized vigils and workshops, sparking difficult but necessary conversations about recognizing and escaping toxic relationships. The tragedy of Ikea Hood and Trevon Wright has become more than just another headline. It's a national reckoning. A firestorm of conversations online has pulled attention to a deeper crisis. What happens when young love collides with emotional immaturity, broken communication, and unchecked jealousy? Should paternity truths be delivered differently? At the heart of the tragedy is a brutal question. Should paternity truths be handled differently in high-stress, emotionally unstable youth relationships? Some argue that revealing sensitive truths in volatile situations without professional or family mediation is dangerous, but others push back, saying the truth should never be blamed for someone else's violent reaction. Do we teach boys how to lose? How to walk away without destroying everything in the process? Teenage love is often intense, but this case has exposed how quickly that intensity can turn toxic. Jealousy, possessiveness, obsession, all cloaked in the name of love. Trevon's reaction to Ikea's revelation wasn't just about betrayal. It was about power, about losing control, and it forced many to face uncomfortable truths. How many young girls are trapped in abusive relationships, too afraid to speak up? How many boys are taught, through culture, music, even parenting, that love means control, possession, or even violence? Parents watching this story unfold are left asking, would I have seen the red flags if this were my child? Are we preparing our sons to handle heartbreak without turning to rage? It's not enough to ask, are you in a relationship? We must teach teens about emotional literacy, respectful love. Walking away without causing harm. Often, young women are taught to keep the peace, to avoid upsetting him, or to solve it privately. But Ikea told her truth, and for that, she paid with her life. This tragedy isn't just about a boy who snapped, it's about the systems, silence, and social norms that allow this kind of violence to keep happening. Her story became a cautionary tale, a reminder that love without respect and trust can quickly turn deadly. This was never just a story about a teenage girl or a broken relationship. It was a warning, a cry that went unheard until it was too late. Ikea Hood was vibrant, full of life and dreams. She wanted more for herself and for her daughter. Her death asks all of us, are we paying attention? Are we listening to the quiet cries behind closed doors? Because sometimes the people we love the most can also be the ones who hurt us the deepest. Don't let Ikea's story fade into another forgotten headline. Hit that subscribe button now, because the next story could be someone you know. Share this video, talk about it, help protect those who might still be in danger. And if you think this can't happen in your life or community, think again. The truth is closer than you realize. Drop your city, share your truth, even just one word. I'll see you in the next one.